philosophy of Artlands is I just say yes. Like, you want to do this weird thing? Yeah, we'll do it. Because it's like, I don't know when the opportunities are going to come again. You know?
Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Empire, where we like to engage with people from pastors to actors, rappers to trappers, and everybody in between. My name's Antonio Lee Miles, and yes, guess what? We have another great guest for today's episode. But before we get into our amazing guests, you guys should know what to do. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, follow, share, all that good stuff. You know, we appreciate the support. And speaking of support, if you want to support the channel, support the podcast, you can do our CashApp, which is $TheeEmpirePodcast. We also have a PayPal and all that great stuff. But after all of that, blah, 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 let's get into our amazing guest, who is a great gentleman. He's a CEO and founder, can I say?
Executive director.
Executive director, okay. Which is basically the man in charge, more or less, you know, or who's executing the direction of where the company is going, right? Or the brand is going, right?
Yeah,
for the most part. Yeah, let's get right into him and what he's doing. And he's the executive director of the Artlands, and we got so much more to learn from him. His name is Daniel Gohman. Welcome to The Empire, Daniel.
Thanks for having me on.
Man, so glad to have you. How's your day been, man?
Yeah, pretty good. It's hot out there.
Oh my goodness. It's like 108 or something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, long sleeves, you know. But, you know, you got to do what you got to do. Oh, man, it's just like, it's like beach weather. You just want to go to the beach right now.
Yeah.
Or stay inside and enjoy the AC.
Yeah, I didn't want to, going somewhere, it just seems like a challenge.
Oh, like leaving the house?
Yeah.
I know. Can you imagine not having air conditioning?
Oh, yeah, it's bad. Actually, the car I was driving over here didn't have air conditioning.
No.
Because my car was on the fritz, so.
Okay. So no AC.
And there was no AC, so it was,
Okay, but you made it.
I made it.
Got you. Did you have something cold to drink at least?
Yeah, of course. Got my coffee,
Okay, to get you going.
Iced coffee.
Got you. Coffee every day, every morning?
Every day.
Okay. I want to ask you, do you ever feel like coffee is not really helping anymore? It's just kind of like a routine?
Yeah, it's like almost like an addiction at this point.
Got you.
It's like,
Got
if I don't have my coffee, I'm like, okay, the headache's starting to kick in, It's like,
I guess the first step of being an addict is admitting it.
Yep.
So that's awesome. Yeah, because sometimes I always feel like people are like, I just need the taste of coffee. Like it doesn't really do anything.
Yeah.
But it's just like the routine of it.
Yeah.
Right.
I can see that too.
Have you ever been to Europe?
I have.
So their coffee's different.
Yes.
Right?
Uh-huh.
Do you like their coffee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's mostly like espresso, right? Basically,
Right.
like their version of coffee is like espresso.
Yeah, like a little shot glass kind of thing.
And I think last time I was there, they were like, they make fun of American coffee. It's like watered down coffee to them.
Right.
You know what I mean?
An Americano, it's literally is with water in it.
Hilarious. What part of Europe did you go to?
I backpacked across Europe 2007, I think, and I went to a bunch of different countries, but
No way.
Ireland, England. I went to Eastern Europe, some of the not Ukraine, but
Okay.
like Slovakia and Hungary, and so that was pretty cool. But yeah.
Was it hard getting by? Did you speak any other languages?
I tried to learn. We didn't really plan a whole lot. We knew I went with a friend. We flew into Ireland, and we booked our flight out. It was a couple months. We were there for a few months. In Frankfurt, Germany, we just knew we were going to fly in this day and fly out. And we just kind of took trains and did whatever we wanted.
Gotcha.
So I would go try to figure out the country. I would learn as much as I could on the train.
Okay.
Just to get by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Google was around, right?
No, there was no. I didn't even have a phone, honestly.
Oh, wow.
I would do pay phones to call home and stuff.
Wow.
Or internet cafes. It was the main thing.
Okay.
But
what an experience.
yeah.
How
There
long?
was MySpace back then.
Okay. Not even Facebook.
There wasn't even Facebook, or maybe there was, but I didn't know about it yet.
Gotcha. It wasn't as what it is
wasn't a
today.
thing, yeah.
Wow. How long were you out backpacking?
2.5 months, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know what? I don't know. Maybe you guys know, but I'm going to ask because I don't know. What is backpacking through Europe?
It's basically you put all your belongings everything fits in a backpack. You don't have like a lot of luggage with you, and you pretty much just travel around on the train, and because they have a really awesome train system compared to here, and that most cities have a subway system, so you can just take a backpack, everything with you, and stay in like hostels. It'll be like a room with like 30 bunk beds in it, and it's $10 a night or something like that.
Okay.
And so
Okay.
pretty inexpensive, and just travel from city to city, and sleep and wherever, and just
Got
kind
you.
of see stuff.
Got you. Party, everything.
Yeah, and then.
What was your favorite country to go to?
I don't know if I had a favorite. I'd say I liked Ireland a lot. My mom's family's Irish descent, so it was kind of cool to see some family history stuff. But then I really liked like Prague and like Eastern Europe kind of more. I was more surprising. Like I didn't really know anything about those countries in advance, so I was kind of like, this is really cool. It's like actually a different culture, eating the foods and trying stuff that it's not not as touristy,
As Western Europe.
as Western Europe.
Yeah. Eastern Europe is it's like two different worlds.
Right.
It really is. Eastern Europe. I like Eastern Europe. It's got a bad rep. I feel like
Everybody was super cool there. I had no problems there.
Yeah.
Well, no, we got robbed on the train by the cops in Hungary. But
what?
Yeah.
Tell us the story. We have to hear the story. Tell us the story.
I mean, basically, they just came and were like, "You guys are on the wrong train." We were fine. We were coming from Slovakia, I think, and just like they just got on the train. We're like, "You guys are on the wrong train. You got to pay the right train fee, or else you got to get off at this stop." And it was like in the middle of nowhere, like in some cornfields in Hungary. So we were like, okay, well, we ended up paying basically bribing them to let us stay on the train.
Okay.
And then I didn't even know, like, because it's a currency difference there. They weren't on the euro. So, and I was like, how much did they just get from us? And then we had to look it up later. It ended up being like $30 or something.
Okay,
but,
in America. Okay.
But I was like, okay, I'm not that. It's not the end of the world. But,
Got you. $30 each or $30 total?
I think it was each, or maybe it was. I can't remember.
Okay,
honestly,
but still, they got 30.
They got some money out of us, and that was kind of shady because we were on the right train. You don't switch trains halfway through the thing. It's
they just like, oh, Americans, let's.
Yeah, well, they were. Yeah, I mean, I don't think we were the only ones that were doing that too. So yeah,
it's probably a good hustle. Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, either that or be stranded in nowhere.
They pick the worst train stop in the whole trip. Like you're like the farthest out there. Yeah. So.
It's probably not their first time they've done that.
Yeah.
They probably do it all the time. They're like, oh, they probably spotted you guys coming on, and they're like, hey.
Yeah. Well, we got on in a different country, so I don't think so.
Oh.
And it crossed over the border, and that's when it happened.
Okay. And they're probably like, oh, let's see if there's any tourists here we can get our hands on. And it's like, Igor, are you ready to do the thing we do every Saturday? Yes. The same thing we do every night, Pinky? Yes, sir. Yeah. Try to take over the world.
That's right.
So, Daniel, for all of us who may not know who you are and what you do, can you please tell all of us who you are and what you do?
Well, I am the executive director, as we said in the intro, of the Artlands, which is a nonprofit based in Redlands. However, we do work all over the Inland Empire, the Coachella Valley, and the desert, and the high desert, like Joshua Tree area. And so that's what I'm working on right now. It's my main project. We've been doing that for about 5 years now in September. But, we started out pretty much just hanging art at coffee shops we weren't a nonprofit or anything. It was just like an Instagram page. So it's really just started from nothing, doing group shows, just asking our friends like, hey, can we hang art on your walls? Because there was nowhere to show out here, or at least we were started in Redlands, but I mean, there were organizations, but I don't know. It just felt like there was just not a lot of opportunities for younger, like emerging artists to show their work. So we just started trying to create opportunities. So that's what I'm doing now. It's just been growing and evolving for now. This will be the 5th year. So yeah.
Wow. So you're happy anniversary, pre-anniversary coming up.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guys have anything planned maybe for the anniversary?
No, I don't think this year we're going to do an anniversary exactly. We did one last year. We did a 4-year anniversary.
Okay.
So I think we're going to just, we have a lot of big shows coming up, like in every, in September, we're doing a Hispanic Heritage Month art show. It's curated by Karem Peterson. She's one of our artists from Lima, Peru.
Okay, dope.
And so she's going to be working on that. We're closing the street and doing like a art walk music festival type of thing in downtown Redlands.
Dope.
So that's sort of what we're doing for September.
Okay.
So we just started the closing the street thing. That's like a brand new, like we just did it for the first time a couple months ago. So
How's the paperwork dealing with trying to get the street closed?
yeah, it's not too bad. It's just they're very bad. The city is very bad about communicating. Like it's like, hey, this is going to be approved on this date. So it's hard for me to go like, hey, we're going to do a beer garden. Like I got to get the alcohol permit, but they won't give us that permit until it's approved. So, so last time we were doing it at the last minute. So I guess it's just the communication. Like, I don't know, they've never denied us, but it's just getting them to commit to like, it's going to be approved by this date has always been like
nerve-wracking.
Yeah, the first time we did it, they changed the forms on us a couple times. Like, oh, I filled out the form. Like, oh, you know what? We updated the form. You got to fill it out again. And that happened like a couple times. I was they kept delaying us. And I was like, okay. So we moved the date back. So I'm hoping now it's like they know us now a little bit more.
Okay.
And it's like not the first time. So hopefully it'll be smoother.
Gotcha. Like people should know you when you walk in the door.
Yeah.
And
Well,
like that.
I mean, they've already approved it before. We didn't do like, it went well, there wasn't anything crazy. So,
oh man.
So hopefully it'll be a quicker process.
Gotcha. What a nightmare. It's like, come on, you just know what we want. Do you ever feel like they kind of just do that just like to test like your patience?
Yeah. Or it's like kind of, they don't, I mean, it's like any like employee, they like, oh, this is going to create more work. You know what I mean? Like I kind of get that vibe too. Like, I don't know. It could be all those things, but
like all of them combined basically.
Yeah.
I got you.
Or they make it a little bit harder. So they don't want like everyone doing it. So they make it like you have to
jump through more loops.
You have to jump through more hoops. And then if, after you've done it a few times, they're probably like, okay, this guy's
he's serious.
He's serious. He's going to do it.
I got you. Awesome. Daniel, can you give us a brief origin story of, where you grew up, how you grew up, all the way up to where you are now in life?
Yeah, I mean, I was born in like LA or Southeast LA area, like Bellflower, Downey. My family lived in Bellflower, and that's like where I was born. Mm-hmm. And I lived the first few years of my life there, and then my family moved out to the Inland Empire to Fontana, and I lived over there until I was about 14.
Okay.
And was starting to get into like skateboarding and stuff, and that's like what I was doing in Fontana. And then they moved to Redlands, and so I grew up in Redlands from 14 on, and really just started. I mean, I think the first art thing that got me into art was I was into punk rock and like going to punk shows. So like that whole culture kind of got me more interested in like kind of DIY, like doing things and just, not waiting for other people to like do something, like just doing stuff like, oh, I'm just going to do this thing and whatever happens. And so I think that's what kind of inspired my style of like, or like my creative process.
Okay.
I think I would say, but, and then I graduated, ended up going to Crafton Hills College for a couple of years, and then up to UC Riverside. Okay. And so, yeah.
What did you go to college for?
For film and visual media.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So, I got a degree in Bachelor of Arts in film and visual media. And then I did that trip we were just talking about to Europe. After I graduated, I actually sold a car to go on that trip.
Really? Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So, and then after that, I got a job when I came back on a TV station in Palm Desert, technically. It's like the ABC News affiliate for the desert.
Okay.
And so I was doing like everything. I got like kind of like the bottom of the like job they had, but it was kind of like you're in every department. And I got to learn a lot of stuff, which was like master control, like switching the, commercials and all that, recording everything, basically controlling the whole station, how it works. And then, audio and graphics and editing, all of those things. So I was like learning all that. The pay was terrible.
Oh, was it?
I was working like a graveyard shift. Because the news, like we'd start recording at like 4 a.m. So I'd have to be there at like 1 a.m. to start preparing for that.
Oh, okay.
So because I was like the new guy, like they were doing that. But then it was cool. I learned a lot, and it was like a good first job, kind of throwing your feet to the fire.
Yeah.
And it lets you kind of build up some tolerance for for this, for this kind of lifestyle,
Gotcha. What did you learn from it?
I mean, technical skills, like how actually the business works more. Because, in college, you're learning about creativity. You're learning about making, also psychology. Like what I was doing, it was more of like psychology. Like, what is media doing? Like when you're like, okay, what is this image like translating to your brain kind of thing? Like,
can you give us an example?
Like if you're watching a movie, like if you're analyzing a movie or something,
Okay.
like you would say like, okay, what is this shot communicating? Like this person's wearing like a red dress. Why are they wearing that? What is it communicating to you? What is it, the feeling it's giving you?
Yeah.
Why did they make these choices of, the angles and everything that's in the shot?
Yeah. It's all for specific purposes.
Yeah. Everything's planned out. So it's yeah. So, yeah.
You know what it reminded me of when you said the red dress?
Yeah.
I thought of the Matrix scene.
Okay.
I immediately thought of the Matrix scene. Do you still have a passion for film and stuff like that?
Yeah, I still like film. Yeah. So, I mean, for me, like the original question you were asking about the TV station of what I learned from it.
Oh, yeah.
And I was going to say like what I learned is like the business side of it. Like these commercial spots need to play because if we don't play this, like we're going to lose a lot of money, and like that's a high pressure situation. Like because we were ABC and it was like 2008 or ish.
Okay.
Like Oprah was the biggest show on our channel.
Okay.
And if you messed up Oprah, you're like fired. You know what
Oh,
I mean?
yeah.
Because like they're going to lose a lot of money because
Yeah.
the commercials are like way higher priced during that hour.
What's like the average price, would you say, for a commercial?
I don't even remember the prices.
Okay.
Like
No
honestly,
worries.
I mean, I know that like there was one time when one show, I forget which show it was, but it was like, I don't know if it was the Super Bowl or was some huge event, but it was like the local spots were like $1 million for the station.
Okay.
So it's like they put their like most experienced people like running that. I was there, but I was kind of helping,
Yeah, in the
like 'cause
back,
I was
yeah.
kind of new at that time, but it was like a bigger, a bigger deal, So it's like you don't learn that part of it, or maybe not what I was doing.
No, you don't learn that until you're actually at the job.
Yeah, and like how all the business goes, like how.
What's your okay, I got two things. What or who, I guess probably the better, who are your favorite, I guess, writer directors? If you have a top three. And secondly, do you feel like you learned how to approach business a little bit different from working for ABC?
Directors, I would have to say like that always kind of, I don't know. I don't really have a top. It's hard to say a favorite. I respect a lot of work, but I mean, there was ones when I was growing up that I really liked, like Hal Ashby. He's like a '60s director. He did Harold and Maude, and like
Harold
being
and
there,
Maude.
like they're just really weird, like like stories and stuff. So I really, I gravitate towards that. So I think it was kind of cool.
When you say weird, I thought of God, come on. He did the Royal Tenenbaums.
Wes Anderson. Yeah. I love Wes Anderson.
Yeah, it made me think of that. Okay. And business-wise, from ABC, do you feel like you approach business a little bit different?
I would say ABC kind of was like that was sort of like an intro for me. That was like so I don't think that really, I mean, it just kind of just like, it was like made me aware of that. And like, I would say I went on after ABC to have a job that more got me into, like later on, I worked for Technicolor, which is like a film. That's the at the end of credits you'll see in Technicolor or whatever. But so they did coloration. What I did was digital cinema. So it was kind of like the opposite of what I do now because I shoot a lot of in film and I'm all about shooting in 35 millimeter. But when my job there was to move everything away from 35 millimeter and into digital, or that's what the job was in the digital studio. So I worked in there for a while, and that actually I was working with clients. Like we were working with Disney and Warner Brothers and those kind of things. Like these are all for studios. So we were just basically helping the theaters. We were like the middleman in between the theaters and the studios, like getting them to get digital equipment and then like producing the like movies basically and trailers in digital format and
away from film.
And so at that time we were just shipping hard drives with like they were encrypted hard drives.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So continue with the story.
That got me into like more like how to do, work, doing stuff for client work. That's like more where I was working, like doing more direct client work.
Okay.
Which is kind of like a skill set that helps me get to where I am now doing Artlands. Cause it's a lot of like, it's not the same thing. I'm not like doing movies with, talking to somebody from Disney or something, but it's more of like I'm, working with like a smaller business or trying to get bigger sponsors or whatever it is. But it's like helped me like be able to communicate and have client do what the client wants or communicate the benefits of what we're doing.
Nice and clear and concise.
Yeah, and just having experience with that kind of thing.
Okay. And so how did we get from Technicolor to Artlands? What's the in between?
The in between is that was like my other. I went on to after Technicolor, like I wasn't really happy in that. Like it was, I love films and stuff, but it was more of like just straight business. Like we're working with the theaters. I wasn't like doing anything creative. It was just a business complete job like that. So I was like, I'm gonna try to, and also Technicolor was like laying people off, and I ended up just like, all right, I'm just gonna like look for something else. And I got a job at a company called Gannett, which they own newspapers and magazines and websites, and like it's a media company, but they own USA Today as their main brand newspaper. But that's also, they were like, oh, you worked in digital for Technicolor, we're trying to move people to buy ads online, like instead of in the newspaper, because that's kind of, newspapers were going downhill basically at that. They still are, they're barely hanging on if they still exist, but so that was more of like going into advertising straight up and not even working in film or TV or anything. It was like me just creating ads and being a client representative and doing creative and selling, that kind of thing. And trying to get them to buy. I mean, we still did newspaper ads, but it was like the incentive was to get them to buy the digital stuff. So that was like my job there. That was like the in-between job. So it got like more and more and more into like sales and but it was more creative because I was able to like have an impact on the campaigns. So I was able to like talk to them about their like what their ads look like. And
can you give an example?
I mean, like we would redo whole campaigns for, like, I remember there was a furniture store we worked on some stuff for, and they were rebranding their whole image. So they used us to do that. And then we did, images like that they use for their website, for online ads, for print, for billboards. They ended up they used the stuff that we created for those things. Yeah. Cool. So it's just, that's pretty much. And then that was also like where I was like, after I worked there for 6 years, that was like maybe on year 4, I was like, you know what, I'm like not doing anything that's for me anymore. Like I'm kind of like where I need to start making art. Like, because that's why why did I set out to do this journey? Was it to like go talk to some guy about his mattress store? You know what
Hilarious.
I mean? Like, this is kind of ridiculous. So I'm like, I'm just going to start making stuff. So I just started at my house, just like making stuff. Like, and then I went from my own art to Augie's Coffee at the time. Now they're Slow Bloom, the employees started their own thing. But at the time it was Augie's, and I went to my friend, and said, hey, can I show art here? And they were like, yeah. And the Claremont location, we have an opening to show arts. So I went and did my first art show there. And it was basically a solo show. And it was the first time I'd ever shown my own work in that kind of a format. It wasn't
was it
a
like
video.
Painting? What was it?
It was mixed media. It was like photography, and then mixed media, like painting on top of photos and prints and stuff like that. And some like digital stuff too. It was just like a mixed bag, because at that time I was just like putting it whatever I had. Because he was like, basically what they said was, yeah, we had someone cancel. Can you bring it tomorrow?
Oh wow!
And so I was taking stuff off my walls at my house to that I had and like bringing it for the show. So that happened, and then after that was up for 2 months, and then I kind of was like thinking, well, that would be cool if there's so many other people out here. And I connected with the Art Walk too. I did a booth after that show at the Art Walk. And then I was like, there's so many people out here, and there's nowhere other than really in Redlands. If you're a younger artist or someone that's just trying to actually make a career out of your art, there's really nowhere to show your art aside from a twice a year Art Walk where you can vend. And I was like, that's not really, like, it would be cool. There's no industry here. That's what, in the IE. There's an industry in LA, or in Palm Springs, there's a smaller industry. So you could either move or commute. There's no like getting a job here in the IE, really. Than doing like media or art or whatever. So there's no creative industry. So that's what I was thinking, that's where my mindset was. And I was like, I'm just going to start off we had nothing. I don't have any connections. We didn't have like really money to start a business or something. So I was like, just got a bunch of friends and we're like, hey, do you want to do a group show? And then I went to the coffee shop and was like, hey, can we do a group show here? We're like, yeah, cool. So I created an Instagram page and we just called it Artlands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how it started. And that's, yeah. And then we did that show. And then we got offers to do another coffee shop. And they were like, instead of 2 months, can you just always curate the art here? And then Alama Ice Cream in downtown Redlands said that like we could curate their walls for like we just change it out. And then we didn't have a physical location or anything. Mm-hmm. And then, about that, we were doing that for about 6 months, almost a year. And then the owner of a gallery where we're at now, we have a gallery space. He was like, I'm going to step away, but I would like to have this remain an art space. So do you think your art collective would be able to take over the lease? And so I got like a bunch of the artists together and we're like, can we do like each of us throw in like $45 a month and just pay split the rent to save this space. It was like grandfathered in under a lease under like less rent than Redlands would normally be. So that's sort of how that was born. And now we have a shop in downtown Redlands.
Dope. Yeah. Super cool. You mentioned something about so Augie's coffee shop is no longer Augie's. It's
the employees of Augie's attempted to unionize, or they did unionize, but the company fought them to the point where they don't exist anymore.
Wow.
And so the employees started a co-op and like opened their own coffee shop.
Okay.
But it's like they're all like from Augie's.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Wow. When you mentioned that you skateboarded, did you watch the X Games that recently was on?
I didn't have a chance to watch the recent one. No.
Tony Hawk was there.
Okay.
Not was he? He was there, but he also competed.
Wow. He's pretty old.
He's like 55, I think.
Wow.
And he competed for best trick. And I remember, I'm pretty sure you probably remember. Do you remember when he first did the 900?
Uh-huh.
Do you remember that?
Yeah.
They said it was 25 years ago.
Wow, really?
Yeah. It doesn't feel like that, right?
It does not feel like that at all.
And I was like, wow. And I think the kid that won, I believe his name is Guy. He's a 14-year-old kid from Brazil. He did a judo 900 first try. Basically, what that is, ladies and gentlemen, is he spun the board around, 360 twice, and then one at 180. And in the meantime, he's holding the nose of the board and takes one of his feet off, and he's still spinning while he does that. And I just thought in my mind, I was like, wow, like the evolution of skateboarding, and just, I guess, it's just a part of life and art, like the evolution of things. And I was like, this kid literally did it, a 900, which was like unfathomable when Tony Hawk did it, but he did it and he added another trick to it, or he enhanced it, I guess you could say. He did and I was just amazed. And I grew up doing skateboarding too, and I used to love skateboarding. But I stopped because I was like, I'm not ballsy enough for this sport, man.
Yeah. I mean, well, it kind of gives you like also the kind of keep trying mentality, like with these things that I'm into like doing right now. It's like, there's a lot of failure. Like there's a lot of like, you don't get, things don't always work out. Like it's a constant struggle because art, there's not like a ton. So it's like skateboarding is like you get knocked down constantly. If you want to get good, you have to you just deal with the pain and keep getting back up. Yeah. So it's sort of like, I don't know.
Got you, like if you're learning a trick or something.
Yeah. So it's kind of like we didn't get this grant. We'll just keep going,
Yeah, on to
just
the next
whatever.
one. I love it.
So sort of, yeah.
Cool. That's a cool metaphor. I like that.
Yeah.
I like that. I think you kind of mentioned it before, but how can we kind of explain a little bit more in detail, like what the Artlands is?
So the Artlands, I kind of gave you the backstory of how it started, but so now it has evolved into, we are a nonprofit. We actually signed a sponsorship for the first couple of years with another nonprofit, and it's kind of complicated. But anyway, we're a nonprofit to simplify it. We merged last year with my friend Sarah, who started the Coachella Valley art scene, which is basically another Artlands, but it was in the Coachella Valley in the Palm Springs area. And she was doing that for like 10 years and ended up like getting a job in LA and was like, you know what, like this thing's still just sitting here. It's literally the same exact mission as Artlands. And she was on the board of Artlands. So she's like, can you guys just want to take my nonprofit over and we'll just change the name to Artlands so it's not so specific. And now we're like doing stuff picking up where she left off. We're trying to get that going back in the Coachella Valley.
Okay.
But we're basically a nonprofit that serves the Inland Empire and now the Coachella Valley. And then in the high desert, like Joshua Tree, we signed a gallery called La Matadora under our nonprofit this year, just like at the beginning of the year. And so they're part of Artlands too. So we're just kind of building because the IE doesn't have as much, like I said, it's hard to build an industry here. So what we're doing is and the same thing, they have the same issues in Joshua Tree and the same issues in the desert. So we were like, let's like try to make a bigger network and then pull our resources and connections and like try to get funding through being bigger. And then hopefully that will help the whole thing grow and us be able to help the community more in all these areas.
I like it.
That's the concept. It's like we don't know if it's gonna work out. It's just like this is the concept though.
It's back to the keep trying, right?
Yeah. It's just sticks. Like we're just doing our thing. It's just like whatever happens.
I like the intent, which is the most important thing, right? It's like what you guys intend to do and what you guys are trying to do out here. Which number one, thank you for you guys' work.
Of course.
So we know what it is. So can we clarify a little bit more on because the name is so big, right? The Artlands, right? So what does the Artlands do? We heard about, the collective. So can you tell us a little bit what the Artlands does?
There's like a couple different areas that we're doing right now. So, the first thing we were doing was showcasing art. So exhibitions, art exhibitions, creating those opportunities for artists. But then ultimately, and then the other thing we're doing is we're partnering with local businesses. Like we have Aroy Mok Mok, which is a Thai restaurant that we do our after parties at our events. We always say after party at Aroy Mok Mok. The owners of that are friends of ours and like are super supportive really since we started.
Wow.
But we try to work with the local businesses to bring our elements into the businesses so that they get more like, used to supporting artists, or like maybe their business always supports artists, but maybe people go to their business and go like, that's cool, I want to bring that to my business. And we've had people approach us and stuff about that. So it's basically trying to connect artists to the public, get their work out there in whatever form. So it's exhibitions, creative projects like murals and design projects. We've designed like what we'll do is I'll get a job and where I'm working with a city right now and I'm like, if we get this contract to do a mural job, then we get an artist to do the proposal, and then we just connect them to work, almost like an agency. Oh, it's like almost like an advertise. I'm kind of bringing that like to this, like it's an advertising agency, but it's not really advertising, and we could do it, but it's anything. It can be a mural, it can be an ad, it can be a logo, it can be whatever. But we're trying to just connect. But instead of it being like the artist just gets paid like a low hourly rate, and the company takes a huge profit, it's the opposite. It's like we take a tiny piece just so we can like survive and pay our bills, but the artist gets like 80%. Okay. So it's like we're just kind of doing a reverse. So it's more going back to the community and less going to a company.
Gotcha. Which makes it a nonprofit.
That's what it is.
Gotcha. Do you guys do like music as well? Does music count?
We're starting to get into music more. We've done shows on our, like we put music at all these things where we're closing the street and stuff, and we've done concerts, and we're getting more into music. We kind of recently partnered with Inland, which is another like thing that popped up, and they do open mics. It's this guy Andrew Sandoval, and he does open mics in Redlands and stuff. So we signed them to be part of Artlands as like a sponsored project, and so that means they can basically, we apply for grants through us and stuff. Okay. But we're trying to do more with music too. So it's not just, it's really any creative. Our mission actually says art, fashion, food, culture. Cool. So it's like as broad as we can. It can be anything.
Gotcha. Because art technically is everywhere.
Yeah.
Whether we realize it or not.
Yeah, we even let's like say we even put food in there in case like we want to do some kind of culinary thing at some point.
That'd be cool because you probably want to have food at your events.
Yeah, we
right?
have food at our events. But like if like yeah, say at some point if we had a space, we could do food because we don't. It's in our mission,
Yeah.
So
I love it. I can't wait to see it, and it's continually growing, right, and everything like that.
Yeah, I mean we're getting more and more people involved. It's been a core group. So we have 10 board members right now, and we have people like volunteer here and there. I mean, we've been all a volunteer project at this point, just because we started like with we don't have like a huge amount of resources to pay people yet, but we pay by project. So if it's like you're doing a mural, we definitely pay, but. We're trying to get. That's what our goal is now: is to fundraise to get the funds to actually become like a company that can like pay staff and like instead of it being volunteer run. So now we're like direct hiring creative people, and then that's the goal for like the next year is like we're trying to get everybody like hired so that we can have direct hire people and then also get projects like from cities and from private companies and. Whatever it is. We did a mural with the Rotary Club in Redlands. They paid us to do we got connected one of our artists for it, but she did like a 30-foot long stretch of this bike path, like on the.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how difficult is it doing the transition from nonprofit to actual LLC company?
No, I mean it's going to be a nonprofit. It keeps the same mission. It's just we want to hire and like make it more of like a nonprofit doesn't mean you can't make money. It just means
Very true.
Means that you like it's for community benefit, and that's it. Basically, it's a tax category.
Yes.
But it doesn't mean like Goodwill is a nonprofit.
Very true.
So it's like
very true.
We're trying to make it like we're an actual company that can sustain and also sustain through our own revenue and not rely on grants. Grants are great and we're going to keep applying and because I think we're doing great stuff for the community. So I feel like we're going to keep applying for that, keep fundraising, but also we want what we're doing to actually start to like pay for itself.
Yeah.
That's what creating an industry is, and then if we can start to do that, then it's like that. That's what our goal is really.
100% to be self-sustaining,
and then have the Inland Empire have a creative industry.
Yeah, more and more
that sustains itself. So it's not like we have to rely on money from outside or whatever. Yeah.
I was gonna ask, how difficult is it, and where do you look for like your sponsors?
It's difficult. Yeah, I mean, getting people to sponsor art is kind of difficult. Normally what we've done, it's like we're getting there now where we're going to we've done some bigger presentations and for bigger sponsors, but it's been like by events and stuff like that. Like we've gotten sponsors for like individual events. Okay. But now we're trying to turn that into like you can sponsor. Like we're going to be creating more content in the next year and like create like video and stuff like that. And so we're like, sponsor us and your ad can be on the video. It can be on the website. It could be maybe on the wall at the gallery. Like, hey, this artist was supported by X, whoever.
Yeah, okay.
Ooh. So that's the what I'm trying to do in the next. That's where it's moving.
Okay. Well, if you don't mind sharing, what type of new content are you guys working on?
So we just did some content a couple weeks ago for the Coachella Art Studios, which that's at the Coachella Music Festival. The last couple of years, we've been going there and doing crafts with the Sarah, who I mentioned earlier. She actually does for Golden Voice a lot of their festivals, but she does like a craft studios, and it's basically in the campground where during the day before people that are camping at these big music festivals like Coachella, they can do stuff in the day. Like before the music really gets going, and they have like yoga and they have all these other things, but they have a big. It started as like a 10 by 10, like 10 years ago, and now it's this huge, massive tent, and there's a DJ booth, and it's like all day. There's just people making stuff, and it's like free, so they can go in. They can make concert pins. They can make like a collage. They can make like clay bead. There's a fragrance person that makes so it's just like you make your thing and you can have a souvenir that you made there
at Coachella.
At Coachella.
Okay.
So we're going to be doing content for that element of the festival this coming year. So we just did a video shoot out there for them. So they're like, yeah, so we're going to be doing that. That's like the first thing we kind of did. Well, I mean, we've done like content for ourselves, but that's for not someone else. So that's like, so we're going to be doing that in partnership with them and be like kind of like a sponsor on the Coachella Art Studios in next year. So, but like, we're just trying to build on that, like that kind of thing. Like we want to create content for other creative things, interviewing artists, and it'll be like, you know, not even just interviews, I would say, just like going like, okay, hey, there's this new cool thing going on out in the desert. Like, let's go and shoot it.
Got you. See what it's all about.
It's all about. And then it's almost like, you know, I was thinking it's like journalism or something, you know?
Video journalism.
Yeah.
Yeah. Today on the scene when Coachella, we have Drake, and he's I remember, man, years ago, I think when Prince was performing at Coachella, they had like a hot air balloon out there and stuff like that you can ride. It was, man, Coachella has really become something within the past 10 years. Like
it's kind of totally different. Yeah, it was like more of a rock show, and now it's like, well, they still have that like rock, but it's more, you know, it's crazy. It's like, yeah.
I think I saw Justice there for the first time, which is like a electronic music type of house music, and I was like, man, these guys are amazing.
This last year they had like Blink 182.
No way.
They had who was the other person that they had this last year? I don't know. There's a lot of electronic music, you know.
Because the market's so big for it.
Bad Bunny, that was their main headliner.
The market,
so it was like Blink 182 with Bad Bunny. It was like, it's kind of a weird.
Did you watch Blink?
I watched part of Blink because it was the last day. It's on Sunday, and I was leaving, and I was like, I'm not staying. But they like, if there was this thing where like if you don't leave by 10 p.m., like your car, like they won't let you leave till like 1 because you have to wait till all the festival goers go. Like if you're a staff, so like the staff parking lot, they'll like after 10 they close it until like after all the people leave. So I watched like half their set and I was like, all right, I gotta run. I gotta get out of here.
That part. Were they still good?
They were still good. Yeah.
Okay.
It was cool.
I know Travis Barker is he's still on point, you know, doing his thing. Yeah. He's an IE person too, right? Travis?
From Fontana. I grew up in the same neighborhood as him.
No way. Wow. Super cool. Small world, right?
Yeah.
You never know. You know, I was fascinated because you guys have a gallery in Coachella, like you mentioned, right?
We don't have a gallery in Coachella. I mean, we just do that. That's only during the festival, and we've only been doing that for 2 years, and it's sort of like we just go kind of pop up there and do stuff.
Okay.
But our nonprofit comes from there. But they used to independently have a space in Palm Desert at the mall. Like they gave them they made a deal with the mall to have like a maker space at an old Forever 21 that was out of business.
Okay.
And they like created it looked really cool, but that's over. So they don't have a physical location, and that's why she kind of gave us the nonprofit, because she's like, oh, we don't have the space anymore, and it's just kind of sitting there, and you guys need a nonprofit. And she's also on the board, so it made sense. Right. So she still can be part of it.
Gotcha.
And she still helps us a lot. Like she helped us get a mural project with Omnitrans doing bus benches and stuff. So like she helps us a lot, and also connecting us to the festival. But
which makes sense.
Yeah, so we just work together. That's it. But we're trying to get more going in the desert too.
Gotcha. And I think I saw some pictures where you guys were was you guys painting park benches or Omnitrans benches?
They're bus benches.
Bus benches, and like during the rain, you guys are still making it happen, right?
Oh yeah. Well, that one actually, the bus benches we were doing it was August, so it was really hot. It was like, and then we had like a deadline because I got paid for by a grant. Mm-hmm. Omnitrans gave us permission to paint them. And then they were like, but you guys have to self-fund it because we don't have, like, if we give you the funds, there was a whole thing with like, they
don't have enough money?
No, they have enough money, but it's more like, if they gave it to we would be a contractor, but they would have to open it for like the lowest bidder because their money comes from the state and federal and stuff. So it's like a law basically that they would have to open it up for bids. And she's like, you guys probably wouldn't get it because you're paying our mission is to pay the artists for their work. So we wanted the artists to get paid. So we were like, so they were like, well, we'll let you do it, but you got to pay for it.
You got to figure it out on your own.
Yeah, so we got a grant and then paid for it. So,
okay, awesome.
And so that, but that was really hot. And the terms of the grant were that it had to be done by like Labor Day weekend. Okay. And so we had like a month to get it done. And in the heat, it would have been ideal to paint that like in fall or winter. But
got you in the temperatures.
We did a crosswalk mural where it started dumping in the middle of the
Oh,
in the middle of the project,
man.
and we had to cover it with plastic, and then it let up, so we just uncovered it, and they finished it in one day.
Wow, heavy work, man. It's so unfortunate because it's like a government. Omnitrans is like a government entity. Is that why?
They're the transit agency for San Bernardino Valley, so basically from Yucaipa to Montclair, I think.
Okay.
It's like a
Man.
pretty big area, but because their funding comes from those sources, they couldn't like give that. Like that's what they said.
Yeah. So like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
We'll
you guys can
figure
pay.
it
But
out.
now the thing is it's been such a success. Like at first we went and sold it to them, like because we went and had to pitch it to them. Basically, it was our idea. Like we thought of it. We actually based it off of Palm Springs because Palm Springs did it on their. It wasn't bus benches. It was like they're just downtown, like for pedestrians. And they did that, and then we thought, well, that's cool. Do we have concrete benches here? And then I had to look around. I don't even remember.
Yeah.
So like, only ones were those pink Omnitrans benches. And
Yeah.
then I was like, well, those city, like we had to contact. I contacted someone at the city, and they're like, well, we don't own them. That's their property. So I had to contact Omnitrans. Actually,
Okay.
George from here at the Garcia Center, like connected us to Omnitrans because he knew them or he
Okay.
knew who to contact. So
Shout out
then
to
we
you,
made
George.
it. Yeah, we made a shout out to George, and we made like had them do some around the center. The ones that are painted around here, they curated those because we were like, connect us to Omnitrans. You guys can go in on it with us. You know, kind of
Nice little partnership.
thing. It was a little partnership. Yeah,
Nice.
we work with whoever.
So you guys have probably had more than one partnerships with the Garcia Center.
I think that was the first time we partnered with the Garcia Center.
Okay.
But I mean, I've always I've been to like, I participated in events here, I think, and like I've been to different events here, but that was the first time we directly worked with them. I believe.
Together. Cool, man.
Yeah, on a project. We had like a lot of Artlands people that now work here and with Arts Connection.
Okay.
There's an overlap.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
It's intertwined.
It's getting intertwined. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
I mean, it's a small art community.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
It's not.
I was gonna say something probably disturbing, but I think I won't go that route. Do you guys have a gallery in LA?
No.
Okay.
No.
Are you guys connected with someone in LA or anything like that?
I mean, we're friends with people in LA. The Bloody Gums crew. Like we do stuff with them, and they have a studio in LA. But we're about to do actually a show with them in Palm Springs this weekend on Saturday. I'll shout that out because they're curating this big show at the Saguaro Hotel, and it's in the middle of summer, so it's going to be really hot. It's going to be like 110 degrees or more. But it's going to be like at night, so 7 to 11 p.m. and it's an art show. There's like going to be some vendors, and there's some art installations by the pool, this hotel, and they invited us to come and do what we do, like kind of like Coachella, like doing button making and crafts.
Okay.
So we're going to have a booth. I don't know exactly sure how it's going to work yet, but we're going to go be a part of that. And so we kind of all work together. Like we invite them into our events, and then they invite us into their events.
Okay.
And then so we're just like, that's kind of what we do. Like we are all like, I don't feel like we're competing with anyone. Like we're kind of just working together because there isn't a lot out here, So it's like there still isn't. There's a lot of people coming up in the art scene right now, and a lot of new things are popping up, and people are starting to get more engaged in it.
Yeah.
As compared to like 5-10 years ago, but I feel like we're all still like there's still not enough like for how much need there is. So like we'll work with each other, like so like we share, like we're doing this thing, you want to be part of it, and we're part of their thing,
Yeah, community building.
Yeah,
I like that.
I mean, there are some elements in the community that are like more competitive. Like, no, we're not gonna. You're our competitor. But,
okay.
But there's, It's that's how it's gonna be, And as it gets bigger, it's gonna get worse. That's gonna get worse.
Oh, you think so?
Because like in LA, like if you look at that scene, it's like it's cutthroat,
Okay.
But it's just because it's like there's so much more. Like everybody, like there's limited eyeballs, and then you're trying to all compete for the same funds and eyeballs and stuff. So I'm trying. Like I hope that we don't get to that point where But
gotcha. It might be like a catch-22, right?
Yeah.
Like we're gonna build the scene, but it's gonna be more competitive.
It's gonna be like it's like an industry. You're competing with people.
Yeah.
But right now it's not like everybody's cool, and for the most part.
It's interesting because we spoke with Andrew K. Thompson, the co-founder of the Little Gallery.
Oh yeah.
Photographer.
I know Andrew.
And shout out to you, Andrew. And he was saying that, like New York and LA, he used like an analogy of kind of like there's just so many like amazing artists that are overshadowing and people just such a high level and everything like that it's kind of like a forest, he uses the analogy, and you're like a tree trying to grow, but you're not getting enough sunlight because all the other trees are taking all the sunlight.
That's a good analogy.
Yeah, so it's hard to grow. But he said out here in the IE in San Bernardino and stuff like that in the IE that he can thrive out here and grow better, that there's more sunlight.
That's
to grab and grow.
I feel like that's literally, we would not be, when we started and we were just doing stuff at coffee shops, and then we got like a ton, like even I'll just like Instagram isn't really like whatever, but like we blew up, our Instagram following blew up from like 300 people to like 10K, like really fairly quickly. And it's just because I feel like we're doing stuff that connects, but it's like, it's easier to get attention, you know? If we were in LA, I don't think we would be growing. Like we'd be, it'd be a lot more of a struggle.
Gotcha. A lot more of a fight.
It's also like, there's just a need here more, like, because there's not there, those things aren't here. So we're providing that, and it's like, oh, you're the thing, like,
Got you.
And then before COVID, it was even more. After COVID, or we're not completely, I guess, after, but but before COVID, we were really like the main thing. So like I've noticed a change in behavior at our shows, like from pre and after. Like it was more like at the beginning, we were like the main thing around, like basically from east of San Bernardino, that part of the IE. There wasn't really a whole lot of things. There were other organizations, but they weren't doing stuff like geared towards younger people, like how our organization is.
Okay.
So people would come to our events and they would just like hang out for the whole night. They would just come, have drinks, and just stay there. It would be like a big party. And it would be like crowded all night long, people out spilling out into the street. And now there's so much more stuff opening, and everybody, I used to try to not schedule our events on the same night as other openings. But now there's so many openings every weekend. There's a new thing, which is good. Didn't used to be a thing, but now the people that come, it's like the same people, the same amount of people, but they just come through. They look at the show, they buy whatever they're going to buy, and then they go on and they leave and go to the next show. They go to San Bernardino or Riverside or whatever, because all the openings are kind of like Saturday night.
True.
So now instead of it being like a big party, it's a steady stream of people coming and going.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
But it's like, I noticed that's how big, like that's how the scene has changed. Like because before it was like there was no other event to go to. It's like we were the only art event going on.
This is like probably like over the past like 5 years?
4 or 5 years, yeah.
Wow. And who knows what the next 5 years are going to look like, right? In the future?
Hopefully we don't become like the tall trees,
Uh-oh.
But we're in early, so I feel like,
You'll be the tall tree.
We'll be the tall tree.
Yeah.
Garcia Center and whoever else around.
Definitely. How cool. For the artists, how do you pick them? And how can artists apply to wanting to be involved with your work?
We pick them for a variety of ways. Like we either find them through seeing their work somewhere, or they just approach us. You can email Artlands, you can email us, or Instagram. Mainly, if you Instagram, we're going to tell you to email the submissions because that's easier to manage. But basically, just send samples of your work to us, and then when we have openings, either at the gallery or a group show, and sometimes like other locations, we still, even though we got the gallery space in Redlands, we still kept. Like we still do the art for all of Manu ice cream and all the earlier coffee shops and stuff, because we just thought we're not gonna just be a gallery. It's like it's an extension. So we might have opportunities outside of the gallery, or an event, like if you want to vend or something. So we keep stuff on file and contact people
via that way. Okay.
If there's an opening and it fits and all that. So yeah.
Gotcha. So people who are culinary experts can probably reach out to you, maybe?
Yeah. I mean, we like right now we don't have like a space for that, but we are going to be doing events like where like I said, the one where we close the streets. If you're a food vendor, we definitely want food vendors for those kind of things. So.
Okay. And musicians too?
Musicians, possibly? Yeah.
Okay.
We have somebody kind of curating the music. If you reach out to us, we can connect.
And figure it out. From anyone, from any of the art categories.
From any of the art categories.
All right, exactly. Cool. What has been your favorite event that you've done so far? And What event would you like to create or curate?
Okay, favorite event that I've done so far. Wow, that's a tough one. Like, okay, so like one of the favorite. It's not one event. I'll just say we've been doing it for 3 years.
Okay.
It's a recurring event that we do, but it's a benefit in partnership with a group of artists from Austin, Texas. So I think that's my favorite one because it lets us bring artists from here and get their work seen in another place. So we first did this. It's a fundraiser for kids at the border for the crisis going on at the border.
Okay.
So like in 2021, one of the Austin-based artists, her name is Sandy, like contacted us and was like wanting to do a collaboration art show, half Southern California artists, half Austin, Texas based artists.
Okay.
And then it's all a fundraiser for this cause. So we did that, and we did it in San Bernardino, actually, over by Creative Grounds, which is right down a couple blocks away from here. So we did it there, the first one, and it was really cool. We set it up in a hallway, and it was like under construction at the time. Wow. So it was like a construction site, which was like a really cool environment for an art show. And so we did that, and we had like some really prominent artists like donate pieces into it, which was really cool. And so then we just decided to keep it going. So since we hosted it that year in 2022, they invited us to come do it in Austin, Texas. Cool. So we brought I think 16 or 18 artists out, their work out to Austin and curated it into this big show that was in Austin. And I feel like that was cool because I feel like artists from this area don't it's like the opportunities to show in another city like that normally go to like LA artists like stuff like that. Yeah. So I feel like we kind of just cut it off. Like we're just going to work directly and just get our stuff out there. So it was kind of the first time we made that leap. Like we're just creating our own thing out, cool. Bringing art to another market basically.
And it's for children at the border?
Yeah, we donated to an organization called Border Kindness. Okay. Last year we did it it was called Angry Tias and Abuelas. That was an organization based in Texas, and they picked that. That's like a Texas-based organization. So when they came back to California, we did a California-based organization. It's the same cause.
And the cause is to
it provides basic necessities for people like migrants and people at the southern border. Okay. And specifically children. Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I think I saw that. I think I saw some stuff, and I think I saw Briar Rosa in one of them. Yeah, involved. He was just in the one we did. So in 2022 we did it in Austin, and then in 2023 we brought it back to Joshua Tree. We did it in Joshua Tree. Okay. And Briar Rosa was in that. Okay. Super cool concept. And so that's your favorite event. That's I think because it's cool because it's rotating it back and forth from another state. Yeah. And it's just like, okay, there's all these people involved that are like pretty bigger artists, and it's starting to just like get like its own thing. It's got bigger bands. Like we had like the first one we had no music because it was during COVID and we didn't want to have a big concert. Yeah. But the one in Austin, they are the music city, so they booked a bunch of really cool bands. And then so when we came out here, I was like, we got to get some bands. So we got some bands. Yeah. And they brought one band out from Austin called Urban Heat, which was really cool. And we're gonna do it again in Austin. So it'll be it's gonna be at another bigger venue. Like it's this big music venue. So it's like it's getting bigger. It's like it's getting more legit. So the tree's growing. I mean, all of it goes back into like it's growing, but it's still all of it goes back into creating these events. So it's not like we're like raking in, Yeah. Baby steps, and it's the events coming up this year. We're working on another one for the fall. Normally we were doing it every once a year, and so we just did one in May, and then apparently like a music venue approached our organizer that's out in Austin and was like, hey, you want to do it at our venue? It's this big music venue. So we're like, yeah, I'll do it. Like pretty much that's like the other like philosophy of Artlands is I just say yes. Like, you want to do this weird thing? Yeah, we'll do it. Cause it's like, I don't know when the opportunities are going to come again, True. Just take the opportunities. And as we get more like shows and different things under our belt, we're getting more opportunities. So it's kind of like it builds, Yeah.
because more people know about you, the networking,
Yeah.
and everything like
And
that.
then we work with a certain artist, and they're like, "Oh, you should work with these guys," and then
Ah,
it kind of just grows the network,
yeah, word of mouth is crazy. I
Yeah.
feel like that will never ever die. Being like people, because I think people are always like, "Is who's good? Who do you know that's good?" And they'll trust your word for it or other people's word that you're good.
Yeah.
I feel like that'll never die. Like the word of mouth
You just
principle.
gotta have credibility, I guess.
That part, yeah, you got
Yeah.
to step up to it, the credibility, of course. So, what type of event would you like to curate?
So actually, I'm going to curate an event in October, which is one I've wanted to curate since we started, but
Okay.
it just hasn't, stars haven't aligned for it. But I mentioned earlier that like I was like into punk when I was growing up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna do a punk rock themed art show at Artlands.
Okay.
And so it's gonna be like members of like prominent punk bands like showing their art.
Okay.
And then I'm also gonna do an open call for the community, like if you want to submit like a flyer, like like an 80s themed punk flyer,
Okay.
art, we can a collage piece or something. We're gonna like make our window, we're gonna paper our windows, and then also put some cool art at Roy Mock Mock, and we're just gonna build that up because I think we're gonna do more there's more things that are opening because of that. So I think we're gonna do more than one event. Like it'll be like one weekend we're doing the art opening, the next weekend there's gonna be like a movie showing. Like it's gonna just kind of like be like a month.
I like it.
So that's something
I
I've
like
like wanted to do just because that's kind of where I come from. So it's like just a passion project,
I love it. I love it. Daniel, what does art mean to you?
That's a kind of a big question, but like I mean, it just for me it's just like I just want to do stuff, right? Like I want to do creative work. So I don't really think of it like, I guess it's just what I do, that's pretty much it. It's just what I do. It's just, I don't know how to put that into words. What does it mean to me? It's funny. For me, it's basically like my ability, I guess to put it into words, it's basically my ability to just kind of do what I feel like I want to do and not really care about what other people think about it. It's really just a reflection of like what I want to do. So yeah, I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does. It was a question you probably weren't ready for, huh?
yeah, I just had to think about that. I was like, oh, maybe, yeah.
It's like, why? Why
Yeah.
art? You mentioned two things that I thought was very interesting, and I guess I relate it to the art and what art means to you, right? So you mentioned that you liked your 35 millimeter film, right? And you're also a punk fan,
Right.
right? So I noticed that you have some interesting pictures of a band called Pennywise
Oh yeah.
taken with 35 millimeter film,
Right.
correct?
Yeah, that was taken like more than 10 years ago.
Yeah, at an exclusive party, right?
It was the opening of their one of their album releases, and it was like invite only type of thing.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Can you talk to us a little bit about that experience and the camera and what the band Pennywise means to you?
I mean, Pennywise is a cool band. I grew up just listening to them. They are
Gotcha.
a very political punk band.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, I feel like that's sort of where I got my philosophy. Like growing up listening to punk, it's like more, it's not, it's like kind of anti-authority, but also it's like it cares about the community. Like at the same time, it is a community. But they fall right into that. But a friend of mine and I got an opportunity to go to that show,
Wow.
and that was through like a record store that we knew a guy that like got us in basically. But it was that was a cool experience. It was on Catalina, which is like, you wouldn't think of a punk show being on Catalina Island.
No,
and it wasn't
no,
in the venue.
no.
Like the city didn't really like it. They sent the cops, and there was helicopters going over the show the whole time.
Whoa.
And they shut the show down. Actually, they the last song they pulled the plug, and the band was playing with no power, and they just kept playing.
What?
And it was crazy.
Scandalous.
But it was just it was a crazy show. It was on the beach, which was a really cool place to see a show. But
Definitely.
But yeah, that was that cool experience. I mean, so I was just kind of going back to my through my stuff because I'm planning this show coming up in October.
Yeah.
It's punk themed. So I was like, I have a bunch of old photos from shows, and I was gonna start leaking them out little by little because I have a lot of. I used to be a weird kid that would just bring a disposable camera into the pit and just try to shoot people, and it would be really weird. People wouldn't be doing that, for the most part. I don't know. I mean, people.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I have a lot of like cool pictures, but some of them are like, if it's in a dark club, they don't, it is what it is. But,
Yeah, you're not gonna get much out of it. Yeah.
yeah, but the ones that were like, daytime shows, I have some really cool shots.
Yeah, that's what I saw, and I was like, okay, 35 millimeter. I was like, okay, cool film. I love it. Which is
Yeah, I mean, back then digital was barely becoming a thing. Like,
okay.
So I mean, there were digital cameras you could get, but I was just like, I didn't, just go to Walmart and buy a little
Disposable.
and
Gotcha.
just take it in there.
Are you still a fan of the 35 millimeter?
Yeah, I shoot I'm mostly in 35 millimeter.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I have a digital camera. I've shot digital, but when I shoot digital, it's mainly for a client or something. Like, because I need to shoot like, you shoot like 50 photos of the same thing and take the best ones. With 35 millimeter, you got to be more thoughtful about your shots because it's it's expensive.
Yes. Yes. So, yeah. It's I guess. Do you still own the Kodak Procha 400?
That's a film type. So yeah,
that's a film type. Okay.
Yeah. So I have, rolls of that. But yeah, it's actually a pretty expensive roll of film. But yeah, they
because Kodak's out of business now, right? Technically.
Yeah. I mean, they still make it.
Are they still making it?
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're still making it.
Okay.
But yeah,
because I remember I knew this also film photographer, and he was like, yeah, like the film is. I think he said Kodak is. They gave up their business and they're no longer selling film, but you're saying that they're still
I think film's having like a big resurgence right now because it's now cool to be 35 millimeter.
Oh,
it's like because it's like everybody's a photographer now.
Gotcha.
Like they have your phone and everybody like it's harder for like professional photographers to really like get in anymore because it's like everybody is a photographer, right?
True. Yeah.
And so
everyone has a podcast.
And then the way that a lot of people are now, I feel like, I mean, film. I've always thought film is cool because it's the whole process. It's like it's like again, you can't shoot like 100 photos in one. Like you're gonna just be more careful and thoughtful about each shot, and also the process of like setting up the lighting, and then you don't know how it's gonna turn out. It's like. And then when the processing the film, that's a whole nother thing. Like, the chemical process, if you process in a dark room or something.
Yeah.
And so I always liked it for that reason. But it's kind of like now it's like a way for artists, I think, or for photographers to like stand out or like at least create like a vintage quality.
Yeah.
I was just talking about this to a guy yesterday who came into Artlands.
Okay.
He was talking about like, oh yeah, he's an older guy and he's like, all these guys who are shooting like film, and then I'll see him put like a filter even on a digital, and it looks like they put like the spots on it to make it look vintage. And he's like, I used to spend hours trying to get that off of there.
Hilarious.
Like, and he was like, that was like, you don't want that. You want it to look clear when you're like in the, when you're, and now it's like the film look is cool.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know. I just like it. To me, it's just like I don't even show half of my stuff. I just do it for me. I just take my camera around and shoot stuff, and I'll put it out over time, or if it makes sense with what I'm,
what you're doing.
With what I'm doing. But really, it's just like a release, like
So you're creative.
That's what I just like doing. So I just do it.
Gotcha. Like I've been super interested in knowing how to use film. I just never had the opportunity to use film because I think it's. Well, I guess I'm thinking about from the aspect of like video film, videography film, because I guess even portrait film, photography film, it's like there's like a warmness to it when you have film as opposed to digital. Am I making sense when I say like a warmness? I mean,
the different films have different qualities. Like Kodak, like Portra, the one you brought up, like is kind of like a yellow, like golden kind of like vibe to it, and then like Fuji has like a green. Like kind of element to it. So like there's just all of them have a different kind of quality. So, yeah.
I just feel like they just have something. They bring something a lot different than the digital cameras bring. You know what I mean when I say that? Yeah. And so I was always curious about it, and I think going back to the resurgence of it, like you said, like it becoming popular because not many people are using it. I wonder if people like Quentin Tarantino and Christopher Nolan helped bring those concepts back, because I know those people were very strict on like, we're only going to be using
shooting in film
strictly, So I wonder if that kind of helped the market as well. It's very interesting. I wanted to ask you that, not only are you in the Artlands, but I could be wrong, maybe you can correct me, but are you also the chair of the Cultural Arts Commission?
I am, yeah. That's sort of new. I mean, I was on so last year, this is my second year, but I got appointed to be on the Redlands Cultural Arts Commission, basically through my work at Artlands, because doing so much work in the community. And also, there's a couple of city council members that actually really support what we do and what I'm doing. But they support Artlands as a whole. But one of them, basically how it works is when there's an opening on the commission, they encourage me to apply. I applied, and it rotates like which council member picks every time. So it's
interesting.
So one of the council members that supports actually selected me to be on the commission. I wasn't the chair. That was actually like less than a month. This month I got elected to be the chair.
Congrats.
Thanks. It's just because we pick amongst each other who's going to be the chair. So it just every year it switches out, or we have a vote every year. It doesn't necessarily have to switch, but every year we have a vote.
See who gets it.
See who gets it or who wants it. Some people don't want it, because you're basically you have no more power than any other commissioner. You just have to run the meeting and the mic. So people, that's the only thing. It's like, and maybe you have a little bit more control over the agenda. Like, so if something's like somebody puts something on the agenda and you go, then we don't. It's a packed one. You could take it off or table it or something to the next meeting, but there's really no additional power like in the voting. My vote is not more more powerful than anyone else's. Being the chair.
Can you give us so what is the culture?
It's Cultural Arts Commission.
Yeah, what is it?
It's the city of Redlands. It's basically it makes recommendations to the city on art related policy and projects. So like if there's a mural or something that's going to go on public property that's owned by the city, the design has to get approved by the commission.
Gotcha. No topless girls type of thing.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Well, I mean, if we approved it.
Okay.
No,
Hey,
I'm just kidding.
Go Redlands.
No, there's we have within reason, because there's actually a law in Redlands about signs, and like it has to be appropriate, and they could remove it under a different law. It would never. So basically, we don't have power to actually. We can approve projects, and it ultimately still goes to the city council.
Okay.
So we're kind of like setting the agenda for the city council.
Okay.
But also we have a fund. It's not there's not a lot of money. We're trying to get the city to put more money in the fund and like grow the fund, but basically get more funding for arts.
Okay.
And so what money's in the fund, we can use it and say, hey, we want to back up this project with this money. So we could technically fund projects, but the fund hasn't had a lot of money. Like when I came in, I think there was like $12,000 in the fund.
Okay.
And that went to like one thing, and it was like almost gone. And now we're like, we got more money. So like, hopefully we'll get more fun. We're trying to do a master plan that gets more funding for art projects in the city. So
okay, cool.
I've only been on it for 2 years, so
you're learning more about it.
And also it was kind of like up until a couple of years ago, like when I got on is when it started to shift. I was kind of like the first wave of it shifting, but it was really like older folks, and they have a certain aesthetic that they liked in the city.
Okay.
And now it's getting more like as people have left, it's getting like a younger, more diverse board. So now I feel like it's really gonna open up in the city.
You know what I learned, and I learned it from shout out to you, Nathan Freeman. He's a community development person for San Bernardino, and he's a Redlands. And I learned about the word NIMBY from him.
Oh yeah, out of my backyard.
Yeah, and that's what it reminded me of right now when you talked about.
There is a total. I mean, Redlands is kind of it's a cool city. It was always super conservative when I was growing up there. Mm-hmm. Like you would think like it's. I mean, in art, even too, not even just politically, but in art, it's like it's got to be pictures of orange trees, or you know what I mean, that kind of thing. But now it's like over the last 10 years, it's actually changing. It's like the population's more diverse. It's younger. Mm-hmm. They have just like Esri, which is like a software company that's like a main employer, a big employer, and they're hiring people to move there from other areas. So it's changing demographically. And now you can see the bar scene. There's like bars all downtown now.
True.
There used to be like 2 bars downtown, and now it's like. I don't know. It's changing a lot. So now I feel like the art's changing too. So it's finally starting to open. But we're at the very beginning of that.
Like, the beginning stages, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because, I think, well, conservatism is cool, like
Yeah.
it's to each their own, I won't go down that road though.
Yeah,
We won't go to that road.
I just meant more of an art, like an art conservatism. Like,
Got you.
it's
Like
gotta
only
be
oranges.
It's gotta be oranges. It's gotta be plein air art or desert scapes or something.
Okay.
It can't be like we put a pride mural in the street and that was radical to the.
Oh wow.
So like,
Wow.
yeah.
You guys did?
Yeah, that was the crosswalk mural. It was
Wow.
it was a like. I mean, it's not. I mean, really, it's a inclusivity mural, right? So
Okay.
it represents everyone.
Okay.
And it has definite like it's LGBTQ plus characters in it, and it's
Okay.
a rainbow color scheme, and it's basically cartoon like ish characters. But it's a really cool mural. But it's like for Redlands, it was like the first time any
I
kind
can
of mural
imagine
like
this-
that got on, and it was a big fight. And
I
we
was
had
gonna.
to-
Yeah. I was,
we had to go, and it was funny. The fight was half like not. I mean, openly it was not about that. It was more about them saying, "Well, painting in the street is against federal highway guidelines. Painting like pink and colors that are not like communicating traffic."
okay.
So that was like how they
interesting.
fought us on it, and then
Interesting.
ultimately,
Good loophole for them.
yeah, but ultimately it came down to like they were like, well, if we do this, we can get sued if someone gets hit in it, if it's a distraction.
Okay.
And then they're like, well,
Oh.
can they sue if there's not a mural, if it's a regular crosswalk? And the answer is yes. So they could get sued either way.
Regardless.
So,
Ah.
so they ended up approving it. It was like
Okay.
a split vote, but we got it like the majority of them.
Gotcha. It's like a 7-6
It
type of
was a
vote.
there's 5 of them, so it was a 3-2.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's small.
Yeah.
Small. Very small. Wow.
It was a 3-2 vote, and it was very contentious. It was a 2-hour meeting.
No
we were
way.
just fighting about our thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Probably took a long time to get it. There's a question I had to ask, and I asked this also to Andrew, and it might seem kind of dumb and redundant and blah 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 blah, but is art dead?
No, I don't think so. I think art. I mean, I think it's more relevant than like it's in everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like politics. I mean, art's always been very political, but also like food. It's in everything. Like art is like, and then like I've used this to like sell, trying to get the cities and more to like buy murals and stuff from us and support arts. It's like, like Redlands, I'll use that as an example.
Yeah.
We didn't do this project. It was done before Artlands, but the alleyway, they have that umbrella alleyway. And I'm like, before, if you remember that, if anybody who's been to Redlands, it was like you wouldn't want to walk down that alley before
Yeah.
they remodeled it. It was like where people would go after the bar and like
Throw up
and pee and stuff. Yeah. And it was just like not a nice place. And then they cleaned it up and they put the umbrella installation in. But then all the businesses put like murals, and now there's like restaurants that are thriving in there.
True.
And businesses thriving in there. And for like, they don't like, it's like that wouldn't be a thing without the art installations. Like the umbrella thing is an art installation, all the murals, all of that. Even inside the restaurants, it's like they want to be artsy. So it's like that's art. Like that's that's really the driving what's going on. Like the restaurant on itself would not be doing well there. That's what I think. That's how I try to sell it. Like it wouldn't even be a thing without the art installation,
That's off of State Street, right?
It's off of State Street. So I feel like that's how we have to like sell arts more. But I think it's like it's in everything. It's like in movies, culture, photos, all of it's art. So it's like it drives everything,
Yeah.
Even if you realize it or not,
True.
Yeah.
Why do you think someone would say such a thing?
What's that? Say that it's dead?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I think it just depends on how you look at it. Maybe if it's like if some certain type of art that you're into or what you perceive, it's like obviously art is subjective. So
Yeah.
if you perceive it to be like what you're into being dead or your perception of it, then maybe that's true for you, Like, I don't know.
I like that. You mentioned that you see, because you mentioned about the alleyway being artistic, and you see that being like the way to go. Can you kind of explain that a little bit more?
I think that's what it drives people to want to be there. Like it creates a cool environment. You see people taking like engagement pictures in there and stuff. Like they want to be pictured there, and it's like that wouldn't like again that wouldn't be happening, and there wouldn't be the crowd there. There wouldn't be people wanting to hang out in there and bring them when their family comes to town, take them to dinner because it looks cool. Because it wouldn't look cool without the art, right? It would just be an alleyway. So I feel like that's pretty much it. Like I don't know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You know, it just made me think too. Is there art that, because like we mentioned earlier, that art is subjective, right? Is there art that you would not allow or support, or is it everything? It's free game, free range because art's expression.
I feel like, I mean, I support. I don't like. I mean, okay, so I believe I don't really censor art like at Artlands normally. Like I feel like like free speech. It's no censorship. But I also like if it has hateful messaging, like I don't have to be a part of that or want that involved with what I'm doing. But I would. I think that people should be able to do what they want with it, and then they face the consequences. That's their problem. You know what I mean? You did something that made a lot of people mad. You own that. That's your thing.
Gotcha.
You know what I mean?
You don't want to be associated with it.
I don't like banning things. I don't like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not down with banning things if it's like speech or art or, you know, creativity. But if you did something that's like controversial or hateful and you get a backlash, that's your problem. You know what I mean? Like that's my position on it.
And you wouldn't want to be associated with it if it was like a controversial thing.
It depends on what it is, you know. If it's like a hate group or something, I wouldn't want to be associated with it. But if it's, I mean, people thought the Pride thing was controversial. I mean, people, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like we did Parliament Chocolate had us do a Black Lives Matter mural in 2020. And we had artists like actually Jay McCurry, who co-owns Creative Grounds right down the street, was part of that. We had like 5 artists collaborate on that mural, but we had like people threatening our shop in downtown over that. Like
in Redlands?
In Redlands, people were like, "I'm gonna throw a brick through your window," and like we would like research like who made these threats, and then it turned out most people weren't even from here. They were from like other cities or not even Northern California or wherever. Some of them were from out of state. So
wow, how'd they find you? That's so weird.
Because people were sharing it, and I think it was just, I don't know, people were super like actively engaged in that. So I don't know. And we had people in town, and there's this like Facebook page where it's like people write about like things are going on in town. It's called Redlands Buzz, but it's kind of the older folks and they were like, they're ruining the thing. Like, cause people were putting like some pretty hateful messages on there. So we screenshotted them all.
And this is when you're doing the Black Lives Matter?
Yeah. Okay. And we printed them on a giant banner and we didn't censor their names. We just like put their names on their comments and put it next to the mural. So when we did the opening, like when we did the unveiling, it was the mural and then all these hate comments that came from the mural. And so that when people came, they could see like, this is what happened. And these artists did this, and this is the other side that like we didn't say they were racist or anything, or put that on there, but people were like commenting on it like later, like you guys did this and you're calling me a racist. I'm like, no, that's your words. We just put your words unedited. You said that on a public platform that you didn't think a lot of people would see, but we put it in the middle of downtown Redlands, and like people, their neighbors were like seeing it and stuff. So they were pretty mad about it. So like that's kind of the thing. Like we'll do, but I don't know. Awesome. I feel like that's what I mean about the free speech thing. Like you can say whatever you want, but other people will react to that in their own way.
Yeah, got you. Like someone's like, "Hey, that's Philip. I know Philip." Cool.
Yeah, there was wild. Some of the businesses would put stuff on their business accounts. I was like, "That's like
wow,
that's like that's not a good move." Like,
so between the Pride mural and the BLM mural, which one seemed to bring more controversy overall between the two?
From the people that were threatening and making it really negative, the BLM mural, and that was like because there was also protests going on at the time in the town and stuff, and like it was super. That brought more threats and more negativity, backlash. The one for the Pride was more of a backlash from the city, like more trying to get it done, like they have more roadblocks.
Gotcha. Were you surprised by the all the hate speech that came from the BLM stuff?
I was and not, yes and no. I mean,
Okay.
that that's out there, and I would, and there was times there was like we had people like volunteering at the shop, and there was a girl volunteering at the time. I won't like call her out on here,
Yeah.
but she was. I had to tell her like, don't come today because I don't want her to have to deal with that. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay, because you know something's gonna.
somebody might do something, or they might come
Gotcha.
in and shout something, or something.
Gotcha.
I just don't like want someone to have to deal with that if they're volunteering their time. So I was like, I'll just handle it. Don't worry about it.
Okay.
Take the day off, or like take this week off.
Yeah.
Let it cool down a little bit. But we still get like, I got a letter or like somebody put it through our slot, like our mail slot, like not earlier this year, like just basic. I don't know. I don't remember what they said, but it was like pretty much like, that's a terrible message that you guys painted in town. And like,
To this day.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. It's still we still get it. But most of the people that were making threats were like, again, they're not. I don't want to say like they're all from like Redlands is like hateful, because most of the people were not from there. They're from like not even from the IE. They're like from. It was random. Like the closest person I think that we found was from like Chino Hills or something.
Okay.
And I was like why these
Interesting.
guys were just like following whatever was going on, and
And what year did you guys
that was
paint?
2020. Like
2020?
right, yeah.
Wow.
It was right in the middle of everything going on.
Wow. People are gonna be people, I guess. I always feel like when those things or situations are happening, it's just like you don't have anything better to do with your life.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like just like that's one thing is like I feel like we don't try to control what other people do.
Yeah.
But then they feel the need to like try to censor what we're doing, It's
Yeah.
like it's like I don't.
Got anything better to do with your life?
Yeah.
Like play a video game or something. Anything. Be creative.
Yeah, just do something. Do your own thing. Like
Yeah.
make your own thing,
But I guess that's how it is, And you've been in the arts for, I guess, all your life, right? More or less.
My adult life,
Yeah.
pretty much.
And 'cause I guess we can consider skateboarding art too as well, right?
I guess, yeah. I
Right?
mean, it's like it influences art,
Yeah.
or both, vice versa, I feel like skateboarding and punk like influenced me to do art. So,
I like that.
And punk, I guess, is music,
Definitely,
it's a
yeah.
culture. It's a culture too. It's not just that. It's
Ah,
like a whole like we're gonna do what we want. Like it's just another thing. It's like with punk, it's like I feel like it made it wide open. Like if you think about music and you go like, okay, they had these rock bands in the 80s when punk was like becoming big, and they do these big solos, and the guys went to music school and they're like these master musicians, and then punk rock came along, and there's these guys like they just do like you can buy a guitar on Monday, and on Friday you're doing a record because it's like three
Yeah.
chords, and
Yeah.
it's just about energy. It's not about skill. It's just like energy. And it's just like, it's wide open because you could kind of just do whatever you want, and you don't care what other people think about it particularly.
Yeah.
So that's why I feel like my thing is like, I've come up with an idea. I don't really like think like, oh, I hope it might not fail. Let's not do it. Just do it and see what happens. And if it fails, then we'll just do something else.
Yeah, just keep moving with
like
it.
keep doing it. That's sort of,
A lot of punk is anti-establishment, right?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I think it's just, I guess it is. Yeah.
Because they're in. I haven't got that. I don't know why I have the Queen song stuck in my head right now. Not Queen the band, but something.
Oh yeah. God Save the Queen.
There
the
we
Sex
go.
Pistols thing.
My friend who, back in the day, cat that I knew, he was like, there's so much similarities between punk music and underground hip hop. And he explained it to me, and I can't explain it right now. But
Yeah.
basically, it was mostly like, a lot of anti-establishment thing, doing your own life and expressing
They're
yourself.
kind of cousins. Like,
Yeah.
like, I think they even like the origins are kind of like there's overlap.
They connect, right?
They connect, yeah.
And one thing that reminded me of the two overlapping is that I remember I was at a hip hop show and they would start moshing, and I was like, "Why are they moshing at hip hop shows?" And it just made me think. I was like, "Okay, that's the punk influence coming over into the hip hop world,
Right.
Because normally like moshing is in the hip hop thing, right?
Right.
And so, just like it just reminded me of that the worlds between the similarities between the worlds of underground hip hop and punk music. And punk started in the UK, right?
It's like there's always like debates about that, but I think it's more New York. I mean,
Yeah?
they kind of started at the same time, like New York and London. But
Okay.
There's just like I think the London thing was there was more like bands that were made by like producers putting bands together. And in New York, it was more of a like an underground scene, you know.
Do we consider Blondie punk? Is
Yeah,
Blondie?
Blondie's punk, has
Okay.
punk origins. Yeah, I think she
Okay.
was like underground punk. A lot of bands like were punk. Even the Beastie Boys were a punk band before they were the Beastie Boys. You know?
Okay.
And if you look at their first records, it's a punk album.
Interesting. I like that. And there is a lot of similarities because I know a lot of hip hop artists and punk artists were like really close to each other and like in the same rooms. Because I think I saw a picture of like, oh God, I can't think of his name, but he was the host of Yo MTV Raps, I believe the show was. I think his name is Freddie Fab. Can't think of his name. I apologize so much, but I was seeing a picture of him and Blondie like together. So it's like, anyway, it just reminded me of that hip hop and punk being so close to each other. But going back to like the arts and stuff like that, how important do you think it is for the arts to be supportive, to be supported, meaning not just people showing up, but actually where the world we live in financially supporting the arts? How important do you think that is?
I think it's very important. I think without support, without support, it's like that's what we're getting out of now. Like, right? And there's all these things popping up, and there is more support. But if we didn't have any support, it would go back to how it was like 10 years ago when there was no opportunities, right? So, and I feel like the IE is starting to finally see a little bit more support coming from cities. Like Riverside's investing a lot in murals and the Cheat Center and all of that stuff that they got going on. And that's great. It's awesome. And I think that that's starting to take hold in other cities as well in the IE. But if you take support out, all of that kind of goes away. Like, you know what I mean? So I feel like it drives the economy, really. It helps to drive the economy. It's a bigger, it doesn't get as much credit as it deserves in the overall economy. Like, that's what I think.
In supporting the arts?
Yeah.
Oh.
Like, if you think about LA, like, it's a creative, like half the people, you know, a lot of people work in the movie industry.
Yeah.
I mean, they're on strike right now, but like,
serious.
But that's like fueling like a huge part of the economy. That's art, you know? Mm-hmm. And so it's like a whole industry. So
true. And I guess that goes back to like, you know, is art dead and the art's alive, and especially we need to support the thing that's alive to keep it alive.
I mean, art can be really lame sometimes. Maybe that's what they mean by
that. You know, I think I saw something. I think it was on your guys' page, but it's like recycled art supplies.
Oh yeah, it's an artist. Her name is Mary Vasquez, who started that, and she's from Hesperia and the other part of the high desert.
Okay.
And she had this concept of, well, it started out of the COVID because it's mainly for kids that were like, 'cause schools were shut down, and a lot of kids, if they're like where she's at in the desert, it's like low income, or they're just way out there and they don't have access to having art supplies at their house. So our teachers couldn't like teach stuff because like the students wouldn't have supplies at their house. So she was collecting donations, or she came to us with this idea of like, because I've worked with Mary for probably 3 or 4 years now on different, you know, just on showing art, and just I've known her for a while. But she came and was like, hey, I want to do this under Artlands and have it be a nonprofit, part of the nonprofit. And it's basically collecting donated arts materials. And it started with just schools and school programs, and she would redistribute them to those in need of supplies.
Yeah.
Because everybody has, like, not everybody, but a lot of people they'll do something like one project, and they have like paints. They're not an artist or something, and brushes and stuff, and they just sit in a closet somewhere in their house, and it just sits there. So it's like a way, like, hey, recycle that stuff that's just sitting in your house and you're not using, because we could actually use it for the students or whatever.
Yeah.
And so it helped teachers, and that's where that came from. But now it's expanded into not just for students, but it's like anybody in need. We just there's a transitional housing development in Redlands for like homelessness, like coming out of homelessness, and they try to connect them with jobs. It's called Step Up Redlands. But we went over there and did like free art supplies for that community.
That's so cool.
So yeah, that's what that came. That's that.
That's a really cool project, actually.
Yeah.
Appreciate you guys for that one. That is a really cool one. I like that because it's like, because there are artists who are probably people, young kids, or probably anyone who want to do it, but they can't afford it or they don't have the materials.
Yeah.
So that's a really cool way, ladies and gentlemen, to get it. Daniel, thank you so much for being on the Empire. What current projects are you working on?
For myself, I'm working on some new paintings and new like photo work. I'm gonna try to put together a show at some point for myself.
Okay.
Artlands has been my art for like the last 3-4 years, so I haven't really worked on my own art as much. But I'm getting back into that this coming year. So hopefully, I'll have a show coming out.
Okay.
Sometime in the next year.
Is there? Can we get a little taste on what type of?
It's gonna be mixed. It's gonna be like mixed media, like paintings, photography, and I also want to do a video element.
Okay.
Because that's more like what I like, going back to my roots of what I came from.
Okay.
But there's that, and then also with Artlands, like I think it's also gonna be more media projects. It's gonna be more shows, more media projects, more murals. So there's a lot that we have a possible partnership coming up out in the desert, so we'll see what happens with that for some public art. So I don't want to give too much away.
Okay, yeah.
I don't want to jinx it, but
there we go. Hey, we got it.
Yeah.
I think on my way here, I saw someone vandalize one of the billboards that say like "fuck cops," and I'm a big fan of graffiti art, but it's stuff like that. It was terrible, by the way, what they did, the way it looks. The art, it wasn't even artistic. And it's just like, I feel like it's stuff like that that just put graffiti art in a bad way and make it vandalism, what people call vandalism. And it just made me think of, when you said murals, it made me think about like, some people can think murals is like graffiti, depending, I guess, on the artist's style of painting. But it's art. And it's just people who can people who can vandalize public stuff and put a bad name for this type of style of art, And I was just reminding me of that on my way here. I was like, man, like, really?
Yeah, I mean, we've had our murals tagged, so like actual art getting tagged, and that's you know what? I even with Omnitrans with the bus, to go real quick, go back to it. It's like we painted these murals on the benches, and that was one of their objections when we first started, or questions was like, how are we going to prevent graffiti? And the answer was like, they're going to get tagged. And they're just living pieces of art, like it's just going to happen as part of being on the street. Like it's just going to get tagged, and either we'll just fix it, or in a couple of years we just paint a new one. That's it.
Yeah,
that's pretty much. But
yeah, it's just unfortunate because it's like, can't have nice things.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, like we're trying to beautify the city, and it's just like a hater.
Yeah,
who's just like.
Somebody just painting on like I think it's worse when it's on like another person's art. That makes it like way worse.
Yeah, it's disrespectful.
Yeah, that's the disrespectful element of it.
Yeah, and it's a hater. It's a hater who's like, oh well, I can't do that, so let me just terribly put my name or some name over it. And it's like, okay, you're cool because you can't do it.
Right.
It's like, why don't you find out the artist who did it and ask them for him or her, like, hey, can I get some lessons?
Yeah.
So I can be better?
Or just do it on the next wall over. Or
right, literally like right next to it. Or
just whatever. Just don't mess with the art,
But they my opinion is that I think it's envy. I think it's jealousy and envy.
Yeah.
Because there's no other, why else would you do that? Like, if you're an artist, you would have respect for another artist. Mm-hmm. But hey, I guess it's also a mental maturity thing as well. Pretty sure there's no like Fortune 500 person saying, "Oh, let me put my name over this."
Yeah, that's true.
Daniel Gohman, thank you so much for being on the Empire. Let's say 100 years pass by, 250 years pass by. How would you like your empire to look once it's passed by? Meaning the things that you have done, whether artistically, community-wise, all the above and below and around. What would you like your empire to have looked like?
I think I would just want people to see that we pushed the community forward, and then a lot of the things that, like, we were kind of like the one in the beginning of the art scene kind of taking off, like we were here pushing that forward. So I think that's what I would want people to remember about it.
Okay. About you?
About me?
About you? Yeah.
Well, yeah. That's. Okay. I mean, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because you kept saying us. I was like, okay.
Well, I was talking about Artlands, but
Yeah.
me specifically as well, because I'm the one that started Artlands. So, like, yeah. Or he pushed the community forward with using that platform for that purpose.
I love it.
Did what he wanted to do, and did it in my own way. So
Gotcha. You weren't being used by the machine and the system.
exactly.
Gotcha. Super cool. Daniel, can you please tell everybody who would like to support the Artlands, follow you, work with you, collab with you, maybe apply to volunteer or do some works? Can you please tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you can find us on our website, which is www.theartlands.org, or on Instagram @theartlands. Yeah, and that's it. That's pretty much it.
Okay, awesome. And they can submit works and stuff like that to you as well.
They can submit works. You go to our website. You can submit through our website too.
Awesome. And I'll have everything in the link in the description. Daniel, thank you so much again for being on The Empire. Ladies and gentlemen, such a great episode we had today. We learned a lot about Daniel and the Artlands, growing up being a skateboarder, how the Artlands started, wanting to be a part of the arts and helping the community and sponsorships. And the really cool thing too about the collaboration with Austin, Texas, right? That's probably been really amazing for the people out here in San Bernardino who some people probably never even been to the beach. So it's probably been really amazing. And so I want to thank him, and I want to thank all you guys for watching, listening, however you absorb this medium. My name is Antonio D. Miles. Please like, subscribe, share. Again, if you want to support, you can do the Cash App, which is $THEE Empire Podcast. Also PayPal, which I believe is paypal.me/TheeEmpirePodcast. And other than that, we will catch you guys in the next one. All right? Peace. I say it's my duty. Yeah. Is it my will? Yeah. To do what? Yeah. To do is right. I say. Can you do me a favor? Can you bring your mic closer for me?
Oh, closer to me?
Yeah, closer to. Yeah, there you go. Is that better?
Yeah.
Is it still comfortable?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.